If you've been on social media at all over the past couple of weeks, you've surely seen the giant HD video sphere plopped on the Vegas Strip. Some fun facts: it is the world's largest and highest resolution video screen. It's 580,000 square foot screen. It's the world's largest spherical structure. It's around 30 stories tall, and it cost more than $2 billion to build. What you might not have realized is it's not just an insane looking art installation and billboard. They haven't let anyone inside yet, but a couple of months from now, we're going to get to see what's going on in there. And it is an equally impressive high-tech venue for concerts, theatrical productions, and it can even transform itself into an immersive sports arena. And it has to be the most meme-worthy, viral, aspirational venue in the world. Everybody who goes to Vegas is going to want tickets regardless of what's going on in there. And the best part, it's investable. That's right. Sphere Entertainment Co., ticker symbol SPHR. Today on Dumb Money, our investment in the future of entertainment and what we think could become the next big meme stock.
This is Dumb Money Live.
Hey, Dave here along with Chris and Jordan. We are Dumb Money. Welcome to Dumb Money Live. Let's try to make this video go viral. Maybe post a link on Wall Street Bets, but at minimum, just give us a tap on the like button. It's quick, it's easy, it's free. Chris, Jordan, some background on Sphere Entertainment Co. It's a bit of a complex restructuring. MSG Entertainment, which owns Madison Square Garden and Christmas Spectacular and some other things, they spun off as a separate entity, ticker symbol MSGE, and the parent company renamed itself Sphere Entertainment Company, ticker symbol SPHR, which is now the actual Sphere itself, plus MSG Networks, which is the regional sports networks for the Knicks and the Rangers, and also Tao Group Hospitality, and they still own about $2 billion worth of MSGE. So Sphere Entertainment Group, SPHR, they have a $1.2 billion market cap right now. There's a post on Wall Street Bets explaining why it's undervalued. And I think that kind of makes sense. But Chris, Jordan, I want to hear why you like Sphere.
Well, Dave, I own it. I bought it. And
that's what I hear.
Gosh, I put an order in to buy more this morning. It just went through. Okay. So I just added to my Sphere position.
Just from a like percentage of portfolio standpoint, is this a high conviction trade for you? Is it medium? What are you doing?
Okay. Well, to understand it, let's start by talking about Vegas, because Sphere is all about Vegas. For those of you that are young millennials or Gen Zers watching this, Vegas has had virtually nothing fun for 20 years. Okay, when we used to do Vegas, there used to be lions, there used to be pirate ship war shows on the Strip.
And it seemed like every year they were trying to introduce something new. Someone had a new spectacle that got you to go, well, I got to go back to Vegas and see that.
Vegas in the 90s and the 2000s was the funnest place on earth. There was always something new, always something exciting. It wasn't about the most luxurious resort beating out the next most luxurious resort. It was about this resort has something crazy, or this resort has something super fun, or the
it morphed from being like you would go there because there was a new Cirque du Soleil that you wanted to see. Now it's become like, well, there's the most expensive bottle service at this pool. Let's go see if we can pay $10,000 a day just to sit by the pool.
Here's the thing, man. Vegas has sucked for so long. Like, I know I sound like someone who is talking about the way Vegas used to be in the 50s or 60s, who I used to think of those people as like, what are you talking about? Vegas
the
now
old Strip. Everyone loved the old Strip.
I'm talking about the old Strip as like the 90s and the 2000s. That was my Vegas. That was fun Vegas. Vegas has none of that anymore until the Sphere hit the internet a few weeks ago. The Sphere is everything that Vegas should be. It's everything that everybody actually wants. Something that is mind-blowingly interesting and cool and spectacular, right? Like in the world of being on your phone all day, getting dopamine hits all day, the Sphere is the ultimate dopamine hit. Like, people are going to go to the Sphere from every country in the world just to experience something different, something spectacular, right?
Just like you used to go just to see the Eiffel Tower for the first time or the Bellagio fountains. Those were like the big draws, and this has just really outdone Vegas.
A multi-billion-dollar theater that in my mind is the equivalent to, do you remember when the first movie theater came out that actually had like leather recliners and served you real food, and they charged triple the price and everybody was fine with it? And now every single movie theater that's still out there is converting to something like that, it seems, because they just revolutionized what our expectations were. Well, we've had the same sort of arenas, the same sort of concert venues for decades. They just been getting bigger and bigger. The Sphere is like, forget it. We're going to completely change the game. And by the way, nobody's really been inside to experience what this is like.
Well, I mean, look, nothing's happened yet. The only thing that's really happened is they've lit up the outside, right? And so the outside is really all you can see. And so it builds that hype cycle of what's it going to be like.
Dude, Jordan.
But I think that's the most genius thing that they did, by the way, is they made the outside of it this beautiful, experience. And then they have like a team that all they do is come up with these like super high res, things to paint the thing in.
Which the eyeball is my favorite one.
By the way, guys, endless opportunities. It will always be something interesting and new and relevant and fresh. Like, this is the equivalent of the Luxor 30 years ago times 1,000, right?
Yeah.
Like,
where you would go just to take the tour of the building, and it was different. I don't know that it'll be like revolutionary for forever, but I think that right now you're going to want to take a trip to Vegas just to see it.
Yeah, but look, they don't get any revenue by you just going and looking at the outside, and so I think that's where.
Well, they could. It's a giant billboard.
It is a giant billboard, but they're not using it as a billboard right now. They're making it an eye and like the earth and all sorts of things like that.
Okay, so Jordan, here's the thing. I can talk about how my investment thesis is about the fundamentals, or how this thing is undervalued, which a lot of people are saying, or I can talk about the management team, but to me none of that matters. I'm a social arbitrator, right? So I care about one thing and one thing only: the hype cycle going into the opening of the Sphere this September. I think is going to be insane, just based on the early reads of the exterior of this project. This multi-billion-dollar experience opening with, they're opening with U2, whatever. Every single person in the world, every media organization, every content creator, everyone on social is going to be posting about this, talking about this, talk about the ultimate experience. This thing is going to have the biggest hype cycle. So many eyeballs are going to be on this going into the launch this September. And then everyone in the world is going to want to experience this at least once, assuming that the actual experience itself on the inside is half as cool as what we've seen on the outside. Yeah. I think similar to our Mattel trade, it's about getting in now before the real hype cycle starts. To me, I don't care about the fundamentals. All I care about is this thing I think it will be hot going into the grand opening this September. I want to be part of that story. I want to be in before that story starts, right? And so I bought Sphere because I think the excitement level for this going into September is going to be through the roof. Will all those people that see the videos of Sphere on TikTok come September, that read the news stories, that see it on the Today Show, that are reading about it in the Journal, are they all going to go out and buy the stock? Of course not. Will some portion of those people say, wow, this is kind of a big deal, do their research, and choose to buy this, what appears to be a very low float stock? I think so. And Dave, in terms of being a memeable investment stock, it absolutely has that going for it as well.
Yeah.
So I'm in. We're not financial advisors. This is just my thesis. I am in as a social arb investor. Is it high conviction? No. I don't know, medium conviction. I think the risk reward going into the opening before a single person ever steps foot in this arena I don't see much downside because the reviews that are going to be leaked, they're going to be spectacular, right? Like the first people
The
in,
technology
they're
inside,
going to be
yeah,
spectacular.
the technology is like a whole new immersive experience. The same way the outside is wrapped in this HD video screen, the inside is wrapped with an HD video screen, and they have these like beam-forming speakers that every seat has perfect sound.
Yep.
It's going to be an experience unlike anything you've ever seen, and I think that there's going to be a cycle that every single person who goes to Vegas is going to post a picture of that. I mean, it may get canceled just because people are sick of seeing it the same way they're sick of seeing beach pictures in the summer. But I think that everyone's going to post about this, and if they get to see inside, they're going to be posting their experience.
But Dave, if they do a good job with this, and I assume for a few $1 billion of technology, it will be spectacular, right? What's going to happen, I think, is that any performer, any entertainer that has the capability to do something really special, something really interesting, is going to be lined up for their chance to do limited engagements at Sphere, because people, I think, would be willing to spend twice as much money, probably, maybe more, to experience something in this revolutionary arena, right?
But I don't think the tickets are twice as much. I think they could be, but right now, what I've seen, the pricing of tickets seems, concerts are expensive now, and like $200 for the highest cost seat seems very reasonable.
But Dave, if this ends up being spectacular, which I think it can be, the pricing power in Vegas for something like this is enormous.
Absolutely.
But it's not just about pricing power. The ability to attract some of the most interesting talent in the world to perform in limited engagements at Sphere is...
Yeah, so that's where I want to get into. That's kind of the problem that I'm seeing here. So they're opening with U2, which is fine. So I think they've agreed to spend like $10 million plus. I assume U2 is going to get the bulk of the ticket sales.
But
right?
just as a little footnote, I think it's interesting. We started out by talking about Vegas of the 90s, and to have U2 performing, they remember their Zoo TV tour that was like the most revolutionary video audio experience at the time, where they had like big screens in a stadium. I think U2 actually is a fairly appropriate way to kick off.
I think it's really weird because U2, they haven't had a hit since the 90s. But that's just me.
It doesn't matter,
I'm not a U2 fan, but let's talk about this. So, U2 gets $10 million plus they get probably the bulk of the ticket sales. The Sphere gets, probably the bulk of the concessions. But is that really would you invest in like a concert venue? Like it's
not a normal concert venue.
No, stop. Like if you talk about the Cowboy Stadium or something like that, cities have to heavily subsidize these things for them to make economic sense.
No.
Subsidized.
No, Vegas did. Vegas is an investor.
About who are the acts that they're going to be able to pull in, because I've already read that a lot of acts aren't really interested in performing within the Sphere. Because it's a totally different setup to what they're used to. They're going to have to go into all sorts of different multimedia just to make it make sense. And so it's just not something that a lot of bands are ready to do.
So
it
Jordan
kind of needs to have a show designed around the venue, which is...
You don't need a lot of bands. It's one venue in the world. We don't need hundreds of bands. You literally need a very small handful of limited. It's one place, and they're doing one more.
So it's in Vegas,
and
right?
literally
so turn it into like a big night show, right? I mean,
think about it. Like Celine Dion sold out Vegas for how many years? Like they could just have a house band play.
No, seriously, think about what Dave's saying. You have one performer that can sell out 2 years of a place in Vegas. Like literally one performer. Like U2, if they wanted, they're not going to.
If you find a big band, like if you had somebody like T-Swift and they were willing to just play in like one place, but they're not, because they're going out and killing it across America.
Jordan, this is fake. No, what are you talking about? In Vegas, we have people like Britney Spears who will do 1 year engagements.
Again, you're talking kind of like spare, like, current B, former A's, but current B celebrities.
But it still makes a ton of money.
It doesn't matter. People pay $300, $400 a ticket to see someone from Celine Dion.
Right, but they could do that
straight.
They could do that at anywhere. They could do that at WinSphere or whatever. But are they going to really spend the extra $100 or $200 to watch it at the Sphere when ticket prices are already out of control?
I would.
You only need one entertainer like every 6 months or 3 to 6 months. That's it. Like, you don't need hundreds to agree to do it. Like, that's the thing. All you need is, of the thousands of entertainers, you find a small batch that are willing to spend 6 to 8 months preparing and doing tech and doing all. It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. If the business model of Spear were to build 500 spears around the world, I'd be like, okay, I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work. But they're talking about right now 1+1, one in London, right? One in Vegas.
So does that make sense? You know, tell me. I mean, does that make sense to have basically one performer come in for a month, 2 months, and they're just the show that's at the Sphere for 2 months, and then that's all the Sphere is really doing? Does that make sense?
That's how Vegas works, and the money of those venues is insane. Like, it's, if they can.
But other venues are getting, you know, hotel, and they're getting, you know, all sorts of different revenue options, right? Where if really all you're getting is the concession as the venue, does that make all that much sense?
First of all, that's not necessarily true. That what's happening.
Well, for like
today
a
has
YouTube,
nothing
for like
to
a
do-
real big guy, I mean, most of these, you know, they're getting the bulk of the ticket sales.
Okay, so, whatever they're doing today is irrelevant. If this thing, nobody knows what the reaction is going to be to the Spear.
Yeah.
If we get a hugely positive reaction, they could do anything they want. They could close it off to any entertainment. They could throw a Spear show. They could have like a Cirque du Soleil style show at Spear, and there is no entertainer. And Spear is making $300 a ticket from every seat in the house every single night for the next 5 years, because every single person in the world is going to want to see this thing in Vegas for 300. Dude, everybody that goes to Vegas usually sees one or more shows at $200 or $300 a ticket.
Now, the one thing that I think is pretty genius is they could, like you said, as a giant billboard, you know, they're doing their eyeball or whatever, and then all of a sudden it just flashes, come see our 3 o'clock show, whatever. And you can literally see that from almost anywhere in Vegas.
I read the golfers at Wynn's golf course are not very happy because, like, it's right on the golf course. You see this giant distracting eyeball looking at you.
Who cares? You're right, but who cares?
But just for a little historical perspective, Elvis Presley had his residency in Vegas, and he did 636 consecutive shows. So Vegas has the whole mindset.
You know, that wasn't like a Sphere size, you know, concert.
No, it was just at the international.
That's what I'm saying. So like he had, you know, like 500, 750 people show up.
The world that we're living in wants
Celine Dion. Celine Dion had 3 million people. Guys.
The world wants premium. It wants the best. It wants something different. People want to be wowed. They want to be wowed. And this is the most wowable thing on earth, theoretically, from an entertainment standpoint, right? It's the most spectacular, most differentiated, most interesting entertainment venue on earth, okay? And like, there's only one of them right now. There might be 2 of them at some point in the near future. That has value to it, right? Like, they don't need to do that much to sell tickets at 1 or 2 places every day for the next 2 years.
Yes, let's talk about the other part of it. So, you know, I read an article, this could be totally wrong, but Tao basically bought, you know, 60 or 70% of the value of the Sphere. And so what actually are you buying with SPH?
No, I thought they spun off Tao. I thought they spun off Tao, and the Sphere owns 1/3 of Tao, I thought, is how it's structured.
I thought it was the other way around, but I could be wrong.
You know what? It's funny. To me, it doesn't even matter because it's not part of my trade thesis. The fundamentals.
Yeah, well, Tao, I mean, you want like a Tao operating. I mean, it makes perfect sense.
Listen, honestly, I can operate it. I can operate it. I could single-handedly, I can go out to Vegas this week and be like, I'm taking over marketing. What do I have to book? I'll get like 5 entertainers over the next 2 years to do limited engagements. I mean, how hard can it be to fill the most spectacular multi-billion-dollar entertainment venue in the world? Like, how hard can that? I don't need marketing firms to go scour talent to try to rope them in. That's not what this is about. Like, how hard can it be? I know that they'll be able to pull that piece off.
All I know is that there's an article saying that they've been having a hard time booking talent. I don't know if it's because of the
do you know why?
relationship with Dolan and people don't like him, or if it's
No,
because
I'll tell you what.
any
I have
myriad of
information on
reasons.
it, Jordan. I have information on it. So I do have a friend. I'm not gonna say I do have a friend who's affiliated with this whole project, and I
Yeah.
talked to him a couple months ago before it went viral. And he told me that it's just a really unique venue. And so for someone to book there, there's a tremendous amount of commitment in terms of developing a custom show, learning about this new media and this new technology. U2 is the perfect type of band that's like, they're all in on it. But there will be others, but it's not for everyone. You really have to invest the time, the effort to do something spectacular that fits in this venue. And that is a problem until the buzz gets out there, and it already has now, the hype, right? To where all of a sudden they'll go from people being like, do I really want to spend 6 months with my team and millions of dollars to figure this out when I could just go perform at the same way I've been performing for 30 years?
Well, that's kind of part of my point, right? So like George Strait, I went and saw him in Vegas. Look, I mean, our music tastes are different, by the way.
I love George Strait.
He would not do well in the Sphere, right? It doesn't make any sense for him to play in the Sphere.
But bro country would make sense in the Sphere. There's a bro country artist out there that is all over the Sphere.
Trucks and American flags and the fireworks.
Yes.
Yes. You have like Coors Light cans just orbiting you.
Dude, the Sphere is not about Coors Light. The Sphere is about, like, if it was country, one of these bro country guys going in and doing a weird show. I mean, I actually could see someone like Taylor Swift years down the road doing something spectacular there, but they're not going to want to pay that money. They don't need Taylor Swift, right? Because the Sphere is Taylor Swift. That's the thing. The Sphere in itself is the Taylor Swift. So they can stick U2 and people will come that ordinarily are done with U2. Like, I have no interest in seeing U2, but I'll see them at the Sphere. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to go see U2 perform in Dallas. No, like, I'm just done with that. Like,
you're not going to a stadium to see a concert anymore, but this is the way to draw you in. The same way I'm not going to a movie theater to watch a movie, but if you have some crazy experience, I might consider it.
100%. The world is not investors haven't caught on to this yet, I don't think, in terms of how differentiated this is going to be. Again, I might have to pay the price for completely ignoring the fundamentals here. I'm not worried about fundamentals because this thing hasn't even launched yet. I'm going to assume that there's a business model somewhere for the Sphere that actually makes sense, but I don't even care because the Sphere is being priced right now based on whatever that business model is. I don't know what it is. Okay.
I'm just looking at some comments here.
Is more people caring about the Sphere come mid-September than care about it today. I care about having, I'm going to say $500 million to $1 billion of free media, free viral media between September 1st and the end of this year. But because they will be on every talk show, they will be viral on every social platform. There is going to be pictures and people talking about the Sphere and their first experience at the Sphere everywhere. They don't have to pay for media. They don't have to market. Everyone in the world is going to be hearing about this thing when it launches in September, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a good thing, right? Because they don't really make that much money on some of these bigger name shows now. To me, it's all about what they book. And if they have, some extraordinary shows, how much are they going to utilize that space? What's that capacity look like? Are they going to be utilizing it all day, every day? If they can get, the concession revenue through, I think maybe that makes sense.
If I was the programming director of the Sphere, I would do the U2 concert. Maybe I'd do a couple other big names. And then after that, I would do a deal with National Geographic and have nature stuff and anything, weird stuff.
That they're going to have it's not just a nighttime, one time a day concert
No.
venue. It is also like it's a wraparound movie theater that can do whatever kind of shows, and it can be an all-day moneymaker.
I would want to be having people pay $200 at 10 in the morning for a 60-minute mind-blowing show where you're just whatever, right? Like, and I want to be having like 10 shows a day. I would want that place to be generating more revenue per square foot than any entertainment venue in the history of Earth has ever generated. That's what I would do. And I want to keep every last penny of it. I would occasionally do big concerts. I would occasionally do stuff like that just to keep the attention on it. But then in between, I'd be running tickets where I get to keep 100% of the revenue because everybody's going to want to try the Sphere for themselves one time. People will
That's
go
if you
to
can
Vegas.
if you can find a compelling set of shows to put in that facility where
I don't think it
whoever
has to be
owns the
compelling.
show doesn't want 80-90% of the ticket revenue.
No,
right?
like literally, when you go to a place that has an Omni theater, you just watch whatever random volcano show that they're showing just because you want to see it. You don't go because you're interested in learning more about volcanoes. You go because that's the thing you do inside of the dome.
100%.
The last thing I said, by the way, it made me think of the last time I went to the Omni Theater was when our girls were a little bit smaller, and we went and saw Rescue Dogs at the Omni. It was fantastic. You could put
And
Rescue
you would
Dogs
definitely go
full
see
on.
that in Vegas in a bigger, more high-tech version.
Coming to Vegas, Rescue Dogs.
But that's the
By
thing.
the way,
The other
Dave-
thing, if I were the promoter of this thing, the other thing I would do is for bands that don't want to spend time and money making an immersive experience of their own stuff, I'd have so much like stock footage and just fully here's a 2-hour show that we can play in the background while you're playing your music, right? Yes.
By the way, Dave, we're seeing Barbie at 7 p.m. tonight. Just reminding you.
Oh, okay. What do we have reserve seats?
Yes, I reserved.
Okay.
It's good seats. Yeah, I reserved them like weeks ago. So
And when are we seeing Oppenheimer?
So that's a great question.
That comes out tomorrow, right?
I want to see Oppenheimer like next week, sometime. So if you want to go see that together too, I mean, Amy will be home by then, so she'll want to see that one. But
do you realize that you and me, Chris, we're going to the Barbie movie together without our wives and girlfriends?
It's gonna be interesting. You wearing?
Are you gonna wear your pink shirt?
I might.
Please don't. Please don't.
No, I won't. I won't wear a pink shirt. I think we got to go low. I'll be wearing a hat. We're gonna go low profile. We're gonna sneak in that theater and sneak out. Hopefully, not seeing anybody that we know. Oh my gosh.
Well, it is right in our neighborhood, the theater we're going to. So that's gonna be great.
Listen, I like the risk reward on Sphere. At least between now and September. Who knows what happens if they open this thing and people are like, it's not even that great. I'm out. I'm out. No. I'm going to assume that the experience,
it's going to be a differentiated experience. Yeah.
Is at least as cool as the experience on the outside. And if it's not, I'm so out of this. But if
by the way, this is only cool until Apple's headset comes out. Then you can have the Sphere experience on your face and not have to even go to Vegas where it's like 150 degrees.
Yeah, that's the big downside, by the way, is that are people going to be able to go to Vegas anymore? It is insane.
I mean,
but it's an indoor experience. I'm sure the air conditioning is amazing in there. And if only they had like some kind of air conditioned tube underground that could get you into it, then I might be going.
Yeah.
No, I'm just gonna wait for my Apple headset. I don't think I'm gonna actually need to see the Sphere.
All right, but Dave,
you have me saying Sphere now. Nobody in the comments has noticed how you're saying Sphere wrong every time and saying Spear. But
Sphere.
I thought for sure we're gonna get 1,000 comments on that, but I don't see.
Okay, let's to wrap it up. We are in a world where things go viral, and you end up getting $1 billion of free marketing if you do anything interesting, differentiated, or cool. That's what this is. Also, listen, our brains have all been rewired. The circuitry's been rewired to want dopamine hits. We've all have so much dopamine running through our brains with our phones and TikTok every day that we're constantly searching for something bigger and better. And Sphere that's what Sphere is, right? I think the entire world is going to travel to Vegas and eventually London to experience this thing. I think they're going to have amazing pricing power. I think this is a truly interesting, differentiated type of venue. And I think there's going to be a hype cycle going into it. And I want to be an investor as part of that hype cycle. Obviously, there's a risk. It's like a really concentrated company, right? So like if it sucks, you could get destroyed. But yeah. I'm in.
But it's you say it's a medium conviction trade for you, and you're just hanging on to it during this hype cycle.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, this is a special day because it's a double header of Dumb Money Live. We have 2 shows for the price of 1, which is still free. So if you're watching us, make sure you just stay tuned, and you're going to get to see the next show right here. That's going to start in about 30 seconds from right now. So I'm just going to play this music, and then you're going to watch us, and we're going to be talking about this very odd company that we found.